fun time of the season for us. We have our bids. Full bids. So we're going to open up public bidding. Our first item is going to be yoga. Colleen will demonstrate some yoga. So whoever would like to bid on the yoga, please come on up to the microphone. Steve Day, do you want to bid on the yoga? Not this year? No yoga bidders? Nothing? All right, well, I guess we'll close the bidding for yoga.
Okay.
Bids are gonna pass. Next is skimboarding. Anyone interested in bidding on skimboarding, please come up forward.
We'd just like you to give your name for the record once you get to the mic.
All right.
Edward Hayden.
Any other bidders for skimboarding? No?
All right.
So we're open to bidding. All right. Minimum bid is $500.
I shall be
Would
$500.
you like to bid anything above $500?
No, sir. I think that's fine.
Once, going twice? Sold?
Let.
Let. Okay.
All right.
Mr. Council, Kelly Council, you've been here before?
Yes,
Where
I've
you
been
operate
here
at?
before. We operate on 20th Avenue Beach front, 9 to 11 during the summer. I reside at 324 17th Avenue. And I guess I just have another question. I mean, if there's the yoga bid was on bid on, would it be open again at another meeting? Because my significant other does yoga, but she's not here at the moment.
We may rebid it.
She
Council
possibly
decide.
may want to bid on that.
We'll let you know.
All right.
Okay.
I don't think it's totally necessary to have yoga on the boardwalk, so, you know, if we don't want to open it up again, that'd be fine with me.
It's entirely up to council.
Okay. Would I need to contact you guys or? All right. Awesome.
All right, good luck this season.
Thank you very much. You guys have a good evening.
All right, next is Zumba. Anyone like to bid on Zumba, please come forward.
Hey, can I put in my 2 cents before we start this?
Yes.
We do still get complaints about the loudness of the music. You're pretty good about it in the beginning of the season, and as the season gets extended, that music has a tendency to get louder and louder. And so where people across the street can actually hear your Zumba dancing, which, you know what, they don't want to hear it. And when there's an east wind blowing that way, you might either want to turn your speakers or turn it down.
I'm actually purchasing a new speaker. There's been, depending on what iPod I use, the music can be louder or lower. It goes up in between. So I'm going to get a new speaker this way. I can probably use it.
Yeah, because you got a small area there, and so you don't have to turn it loud enough so the people across the street can hear it, just loud enough so that your Zumba dancers can hear it. And so that, you know, not necessarily people going on the boardwalk want to necessarily listen to Zumba music or anything like that. I'd appreciate that.
All right,
That's my 2 cents.
any other bidders for Zumba? Tom Volker, do you want to bid on Zumba? He is good. He may be the reason why that music's so loud, by the way.
Those gazoos.
What?
When you power up the gazoos.
All right, well, the minimum bid is $500. Would you like to bid?
Yes.
Would you like to bid more than $500? All right, Mayor, we will award it to you for $500.
We need her name on the record.
Oh, Michelle DiCarlo. Congratulations, Michelle.
Come over and give April your bid deposit, and we'll get you all set.
And how many years have you been up there?
This is my third.
Third year, excellent. Well, good luck.
Yeah.
Next, 13th Avenue food truck. Whoever would like to bid on the 13th Avenue food truck, please come forward.
So I'll ask you all just to kind of line up here in front of the first row, and then one by one we'll have you come forward and give your name and bid deposit for the record. Okay? Sir, do you want to start?
Sure.
Carlos Serrano.
Carlos Serrano.
Serrano.
Okay. And do we have a bid deposit from Mr. Serrano yet?
No, they collect any of theirs yet.
We're gonna do that now? Okay. You can come over to April and give us a bid deposit, we'll get you checked in, and then
Okay.
we'll start the proceedings. Next,
My name is Luke Becker, Becker Family Enterprises.
and that was Luke?
Yeah, Luke.
Becker family. Okay, come over and see April. Next,
Steve DiGiovanni with Urban Burger.
Urban Burger. And Steve, sorry, your last name again?
DiGiovanni.
D-I. Okay, you can see April. Next,
Good afternoon, my name is Brian Marco, and I'm with Hughes Eatery.
Marco, and it's you? Erie. Marco, thank you. Okay.
Yes, and it's Gary Samuelson. I'm with Carducci's Pizzeria.
Okay, anyone else? Yeah?
I'm here for Jill with Belmar Council.
Okay, your name?
Kathy
Kathy, and your last name?
Zelinski, Z-Life from Safer, R-E-L-I-N-S-K-I.
And you're here for
Hillary,
Hillary?
common donor.
Who sent that new freeze out?
Yes.
Okay, see April for your bid deposit.
Colleen, how long are these leases for, please?
These leases are for 5 months. Well, it's a 5-month lease for this year only.
Or this one?
1 year.
Good.
2016
And the next one?
would be up again next year.
That's exit 98. Orange one?
No, I'm sorry. No, exit 98, not up next year. I believe we'll talk to Mr. McDowell about that. Oh, we have one more? Somebody not check in? Hi, name and company for the,
Mark Fiorotto, I'm Mark's Ice Cream.
Mark's Ice Cream. Okay, you can come give April your bid deposit. And Mark, I'm sorry, your last name again?
Fiorotto, F-U-R-I-A-T-O.
Okay, everybody checked in? Any other food trailer bidders? All right, Mayor, do you wanna?
All right,
Wait,
so,
everybody, if you could kind of line up again the way you were in the beginning. That way, as you raise your hands.
Make a row.
Yeah, make a row, thank you. School teacher helping me out. Make a row. I'm gonna get out of the way. Okay, Mayor?
One thing I do want to tell you, before we bid this, there's a resolution on tonight to have another trailer at 13th Avenue that will also be bid on March 16th. So if by chance you're not successful tonight, you still want to be on 13th Avenue, there'll be another bid, just not numbers. Okay? Yep, you have any questions?
Yeah, I got a question. I'm noticing, I have a Model ice cream truck, I'm trying to get it on that side, because I have people coming across the street. But at 21st through 18th, I'm not there. Is there a reason?
We don't have anything there.
I'm just saying, would they be open, having that open?
No, these are the only ones we're going to list. Yep.
My question, is there a certain time frame where you cannot be open? Is it restricted to past midnight?
What are our restrictions? before we start bidding, again, if you don't get it this round, there's another one on the 16th of March, okay? All right, so the minimum bid is $1,500, that's per month. So do the math in your head, this is 5 months, okay? So $1,500 a month, that's gonna be opening bid. Will you offer opening bid?
Yeah, $1,500.
Will anyone do $2,000 a month? Just raise your hand.
Well, wait a minute, we had 3 bids for 2,000 a month, right?
Right. So if you're not bidding if you're not bidding 2,000 a month, then I'd ask you to sit down.
Well, if you would, when you bid, say your name, so we know the record's clear as to who.
Right, it's good to have the attorney.
Yeah, so we know who has offered what.
Right, so we'll go from left to right. Who wants to bid 2,000?
Excuse me, that offer can change though, right?
Yeah, no, it's an open bid, but you say your name, and then I say your name, and I bid $2,000, and then we'll ask for 2,500, whoever wants to offer that, fine.
So right now, we're at 2,000 a month.
Yeah.
What's your name?
4 boys, yeah.
4 boys.
You do. Carducci's here.
You guys are together?
Yes.
Mark, you're out?
And but our guy?
10,000 free cash, is that what you want me to say?
Okay. So you're all in at 2,000 a month right now. We're gonna go to 3,000 a month. 3,000 a month?
4 boys.
Mark, you're out.
No? Okay. Yeah, aggressive. All right, we're at 3,000 a month, we're gonna go to 4,000 a month.
4 boys.
No? We're at 4,000 a month. All right. So we have 3 left at 4,000. We'll go to 4,500.
4 boys.
You have 4,500?
Now that we're down to 2, why don't we ask them if anybody wants to bid more than 4,500, and let them go head to head, and they'll stop. Rather than you suggesting a number, they'll tell us.
Right, but I don't want to do it in increments of $1 or $5. How can I say it's, it's got to go up to 250?
Yeah, we don't want dollar things like that, but let's see how it goes.
All right, so what number are we at right now?
I mean, if they want to go back and forth for dollars forever, then fine, we'll do that, but I think we will.
So we're at 4,500, we'll go up at increments of 100 right now. So we're at 4,500, so 46.
4600.
47.
48.
49.
5.
52.
53.
55.
None.
All right, 55. Congratulations.
Everybody can come get their bid deposits. Yes, unsuccessful bidders, you can come get your bid deposits back. Save your paperwork for later. Since you gave your bid deposits, The last one is,
one is 11th Avenue Food Truck, which is canceled as the current tenant of their lease. So again, we're gonna have a resolution on for tonight for a second spot at 13th Avenue. We had no bidders for yoga, so we will discuss putting another bidder on for
I was teaching a class till 6. I'd like to bid on yoga if you'll let me. If it's possible.
We already bid.
I think
We could reissue it.
it's probably wise to
Yeah, I think
reissue it
so.
all.
Be safe.
If this- So if the council so chooses, you can authorize me to go back out to bid for this service.
We have to
It
vote
would
on
have
it?
to be a resolution on the agenda, to authorize me to go back out to bid. But you could add if you want, or if you want to.
I think you can do that right now.
So someone has to make a motion?
If you care to do it, yes.
We do that now, or we do that during our
You can do it,
resolution council?
you can do it now or when we modify. How about we do it, if you guys want to think about it, we can do it when we modify the agenda, which we're going to have to do before the calendar.
Or we can do it at the next council meeting as well.
Sure, absolutely. Anytime.
So many options.
All right, so next is workshop discussion. Do we have anything on for,
Nothing scheduled tonight, sir.
all right, anything from the council on workshop? No? All right, next are petitions. Any petitions for the council? I don't see any. Next is approval of the minutes.
I'll do that. I move that the minutes of the meeting held on February 2nd, 2016 be approved as recorded, and that a copy thereof be posted on the borough's website.
Second.
Councilman Theo Blackford?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes, next are reports of the council. Council President McGovern, would you like to kick us off?
I will do that, yes. As we open up the meeting, we mentioned that Dr. Smith has passed away. For those that knew him very well, his wake is going to be Thursday from 4 to 8 at St. Rose Church, and the funeral is Friday. I was at the Harbor Commission meeting last week, and our new Harbor Commission Commissioner, Mark Levis, it showed us a floating trash water cleaner, which looked great, because with the marina over there, this is a new thing that can collect all that trash. It kind of floats into the corners and really makes the marina look really dirty. I really think we should look into it and probably get one or two for the marina for this summer. I mean, it looked like, and perhaps Mr. Brennan can expound on that a little bit later on. Historical Society storytelling was canceled last week and has been rescheduled for March 8th at 7 p.m. One of the speakers that you might find very interesting will be Margaret Plummer, who was a longtime borough clerk, born and raised in Belmar, and her grandfather was Mayor Dillon of Belmar. So Margaret has some tremendous stories about the history of Belmar. If you would want to come and listen to Margaret tell some stories that she remembers growing up here in Belmar. So that's going to be Tuesday, March 8th at 7 p.m. in the community room. We had a meeting last week to coordinate the phase 1 of McCleary Park building. We're real close. We're sending out to bid tonight. We vote yes on it for a mobile modular bathroom for down at McCleary Park. The advantage of this is that because it's mobile, it can be left at the ground level and easy access for the handicap. If we were to put a permanent structure there, we'd have to build it up over the flood level, and that would involve ramping. So we're going with the mobile one so that if a big storm is coming, we can pull it out and protect it. And overall, it'll be a lot easier for handicapped people in the park to make access to it. The tennis courts from phase one will be redone. The tennis courts have been needed to be redone for the last 20 years. So I'm really looking, I don't play tennis, but really looking forward to having 4 quality tennis courts over there at McCleary Park and a shade structure. So when a storm does come by, I remember years ago, the sailing program, all the kids got caught out in the water, and there was nowhere to go to get in out of the rain. So this shade structure will help people when it rains. It'll help us Irish people get out of that sun. So I'm looking forward to that phase one, and it's starting very soon. And those 3 things hopefully will be ready by the summer. Right, Colleen?
That's the plan.
Also, I'd like to thank all those residents of Belmar and friends that helped me, supported me with the ALS plunge on Saturday. I was able to raise $1,000. The Joan Dancy and Pals Foundation this year raised $275,000. It was their 10th year, and overall they have raised $2 million. And this money doesn't go for research. It goes to help those people afflicted with ALS, beds, wheelchairs, anything that they need to make their life a little bit more comfortable. I saw people there in wheelchairs, could hardly move, but what was even sadder is you saw young people who could still walk, a little wobbly. They had ALS, and you know their fate, and they know their fate. So it's a real good foundation. So thank you very much. I see people in the room that contributed to me, and I greatly appreciate it. And that's my report.
The coldest day of the year on Saturday?
Sunday was colder, but Saturday was cold. It was cold. The water was cold. But I have to say that my 70-year-old brother went in, so there's no way I could say, no, I'm not going in. So yeah, it was good. He raised $1,500. So
We gotta beat them next year.
gotta beat him next year. Gotta beat him.
Thank you. Councilwoman Keown.
The Council of Churches here in Belmar run 4 food pantries, and all of the food stays here within Belmar. They are in need of food. We'll be placing a box in front of the gym in Town Hall. They're specifically looking for peanut butter, soups, canned vegetables such as corn and green beans, tuna, tomato sauce, boxed milk, anything that lasts that they can distribute to people in need here in Belmar. We have been designated a healthy town to watch by the state through the Mayor's Wellness Campaign, which is a state organization. We competed with every other town here in New Jersey. 2 were named healthy towns, and 2 were named healthy towns to watch, and we and Fort Lee were the 2 healthy towns to watch. This afternoon, I went to Newark and met with Senator Booker's staff members. We talked about our train station and that we would like the platform to be ADA compliant. It was a very good meeting, a very good start going through Senator Booker's group, and I'm very encouraged. I don't expect it to happen anytime very, very soon, but New Jersey Transit is mandated to have all of their stations ADA compliant. We are pushing to be near the top of that list as opposed to the bottom of that list. They have at least 50 stations that they have to do. So I was very encouraged with our meeting this afternoon with Senator Booker's staff, and I do appreciate them taking their time. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Ray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to expound on what the Council President McGovern was talking about. These bins, I had been looking at a different project. I also want to congratulate the new Harbor Commission Chairman, Mr. Lewis. He went out, found this, the things I was looking at, they're not in production in the United States yet. Mr. Levis found a company that's producing a product that's very similar, that's already being made in California, if I recall. The price is really quite competitive, especially when you consider the condition of the water sometimes down at the marina. We're gonna work with DPW and find the right spots. There are certain spots, anybody that's been over there knows, like, there's certain spots where the water just doesn't really circulate, and that's where the disgusting garbage and scum collects at the top of the water. It's a perfect place to put these things. They basically work like the skimmers on an in-ground pool. They don't have to be taken out of the water to be emptied or served, or cleaned. You can actually lift the bin right out. And once you get them, they're very cost efficient to operate. We can figure out different ways to run them. I do believe there's a possibility of running them on solar. If we can figure out a way to do that, that would reduce the cost of operation even more. We're looking at 4, 5, maybe.
San Diego Harbor has 10, so that's a good kind of scale. We're gonna probably start with 1 or 2 and in
see how they work.
strategic locations, see how they work, and in future budget years do more.
Right, they basically, they don't float around, they don't move around the water. They're stationary in the water comes to them. And we would definitely place them in places where the water doesn't move enough, because they'll create their own water circulation. Pulls the water in and sends the water back out.
Suggestion, Mr. Brown.
No.
I want to draw attention to one other thing, two other things. Councilman Governor mentioned the new restrooms in Cleary Park. They're going to have water and sewer hookup?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So it's not like we're putting up some kind of trailer that isn't a real bathroom.
Right.
I think we've got a really, really good solution to the issue over there, and I can't wait to see it go in. I'm sure a lot of people will be very happy when it's done. There was an article in the paper, I don't know how many people, the February Press this morning, about the microbead problem that we're finding in the waters. We have it here. If it's in New York Harbor, it's in the Raritan, it's got to be here too. Microbeads were used in facial product, makeups. They've been discontinued, but the federal law that did that doesn't require them to be removed from the shelves for another 3-4 years. And any plastic that's garbage, bottles, any kind of plastic wrapper, plastic bags, once they get into the environment, into the ecosystem, they start breaking down, and sooner or later they all turn into these microbeads. Once they're in the water, toxins attach to those particles, they become part of the food chain, and eventually that stuff ends up on our plate. It's quite possible that right now. We're going to look into some kind of way to maybe limit plastic use here in town. I'm looking to see if there's a way we can try to reduce the number of plastic bags we have. That's another part. We're going to look at what some other towns have done. We're not going to outlaw plastic bags, but we're going to make it less attractive. We can do that one. Try to work on this problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bigelow.
Yes, I want to congratulate Brian for doing the polar plunge. It's obviously a great cause. For a couple updates, for the Belmar Elementary School, the Chopped Healthy Snack Contest is this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. All the children submit recipes that they create, and then they choose the best recipes. Over at the Belmar Arts Center, no longer Belmar Arts Council, it's called Belmar Arts Center. What's happening this month is February 3rd through the 26th is the Great American Landscape. Please go and stop by the show, and as I always say, please go to at least one show, and then you'll continue to go to future ones. There is now, the registration is open for the Little League, the baseball and softball for the kids in Belmar, Avon, and Lake Como. It was last week, but you are able to register on site. The site is being fixed, it can give it a couple days. And the site is ETEAMZ, eTeams with a Z, .com/BALC, BALC, Belmar, Avon, Lake Como. And I want to say thank you to Chris Van Joyk for being in charge of that league for many, 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 many years. He did a tremendous job. And now the owner and operator of Ma's Deli, Anthony Latesta, is running the league. So I hope you sign your children, grandchildren up. Thank you. Nope, that's all.
Thank you. I also want to congratulate Brian for being brave / crazy to jump into it very, very quickly. At our last council meeting, I sort of had to go through the rules of public comment, and it seemed to work well for at least the one meeting. But I want to bring everyone's attention to something someone passed on to me, which seems to be a brand new low here in Belmar. I'll just read it verbatim. This is from a anti-government, right-wing Republican website. So I was going to read it. I am sure many are opposed to this self-serving change to the pay-to-play ordinance, but how can the mayor's pawns be stopped from voting yes? Smearing their characters in media, letters to the editor of New Jersey papers, publicly pointing out the hypocrisy of each council member, a public demonstration of dissent. Who is willing to be arrested? So just when you think the dialogue and divisiveness couldn't get any lower, now they're encouraging people to smear the character of elected officials, smear the character of Brian McGovern, smear the character of Jennifer Nicolay, smear the character of Janice Keown Blackburn, and smear the character of Tom Brennan. Clearly, it's an effort to try to bully the council by smearing. In addition, the idea of a public demonstration of dissent in an effort evidently to get arrested, well, I can tell you quite clearly that if that's someone's intention, we have the police officers here, and we will arrest you. So if your plan tonight was to either, one, intimidate the council, to smear them, and or to get yourself arrested, I cannot tell you how disappointed I am in having to discuss this, but it truly does not get any lower than that. Every member of the council up here was duly elected by people here in Belmar, and by attempting to intimidate them, bully them, smear them, or me in any way, does a great disservice to our town. And getting yourself arrested is just stupid. But that's up to you. We will accommodate you if you wish. That's all for me. Next is public session on our resolution calendar. Before we do that, I'm going to make a motion to remove the resolution appointing OEM management coordinator and deputy coordinator from the consent agenda, off the consent agenda. So I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. So now we have public session on the resolution calendar. Public session is very simple. Raise your hand when you get called out. Come to the microphone, state your name and the record, and any comments, questions you may have on the resolution calendar. Simply the resolution calendar. Seeing no one, I'll make a motion to close the public session for the resolution calendar.
All in favor?
Aye. Next, I'll offer a resolution appointing Office of Emergency Management Coordinator and Deputy Coordinator. The two names are Patrick McGovern, OEM Coordinator, and Tina Scott, Deputy OEM Coordinator.
Second.
Councilwoman Keown Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGovern?
I think I know the Pat McGovern.
Well, Councilman McGovern, for the record, has recused himself, so he will not vote either yes, no, or.
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Barry?
Yes. Next is the consent agenda. Councilman, you want to join us? I will offer the consent agenda.
Second.
Councilman Keown Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Barry?
Yes. Next are ordinances. First ordinance 2016-01. On advice of our council, even though I disagree with them, on our advice of council, I will recuse myself.
Okay, second reading of the public hearing, ordinance number 2016-01, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 9, Conflicts of Interest of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Belmar in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey.
So you can invite any members of the public who wish to comment.
Sure. Ken, would you like to come up to the microphone?
I would, thank you.
Thank you. I guess you just have to.
First, I want to be clear, I'm not here to smear anyone. I don't know anything about the message that the mayor referenced, but it's certainly not my intention here tonight. I'm very disappointed about this ordinance for reasons I'll describe in a minute. But when we drafted this ordinance originally in 2004, and then we made it tighter in 2005, it was because we were about to set forth on a redevelopment of the downtown. There was also development going on Ocean Avenue. We had changed the zoning on Ocean Avenue. We had a lot of developers who were interested in properties in town. We had issues in our community with the ABC licensees. And we thought it was very important the decisions we make as a council, and that the citizens of our community would have trust in them, that we would make those decisions based on what was in the best interest of the people of the community, and not based upon political contributions or opportunities that developers might have, or ABC license holders might have to influence elected officials, be they current elected officials, future elected officials, candidates who wanted to run, and the like, just to take that out of politics in Belmar altogether. And we drafted a far-reaching ordinance that not only limited who could give and created conflicts of interest in connection with certain classes and categories of givers. Developers, major developers, who were defined as developers who were going to have redevelopment agreements with the town, or minor developers, development professionals, engineers, attorneys, those categories of people, vendors for the community so that they would be limited, and to also make them not feel that they had to give if they were approached by an elected official or a candidate for office. We also tackled one of the biggest problems, which was wheeling, pass-through contributions, where money is given to a county organization or to another elected official's campaign in another place, and then that organization or that official writes a check to a local party. And it's a way for someone to write a check to get around local laws or restrictions, or just to hide a source of revenue. And we wanted to take that all out of our system so that when we had our meetings and we had our discussions and we were talking about changing zoning, we were talking about improving our downtown and letting people build up certain heights or having certain density, the only reason people would see was because it was what we thought was in the best interest of the town. So it's distressing to me. We're on the verge of I understand, expansion of our redevelopment area to include the entire downtown. We have a big building going on down on Marina. We have more buildings going on Ocean Avenue. I'm concerned that what has happened is that we've had major changes. Now there's some small changes, and I'm not going to quibble with them. Those are your choices to make, but the limits on what a minor developer could give are out. There are no restrictions now on what a development professional can give. So a major developer is still restricted. That his contribution would cause an elected official or candidate to have a conflict of interest. But his engineer, his attorney, all of those free give to any candidate. You've got the pass-through restriction. So now the wheeling issue that we were concerned about, wide open. So really, whatever restrictions you have in place, they can be gotten around just by someone who can't give it to you directly, just gives it to an elected official somewhere else or to a county committee to give it and send it in. I think there's no reason for you guys to abandon that. The other elected office prohibition, which frankly, if you look at all the crossouts, if you look at the version that would have been used had you not changed the way you are amending this ordinance from the way we've always done it, where you showed the citizens what you crossed out and what you added. But if you look at that version, you'll see that the overwhelming point of the change was to lift all the restrictions, to remove them from someone who is running for an office elsewhere, outside of Belmar. So if you really think the restrictions that you've kept are important enough to keep, to maintain the trust of Belmar citizens, and I firmly believe they are, why wouldn't you keep them for one of your members who's going to be able to raise zillions of dollars for another campaign? He is subject to none of the restrictions that you all would be subject to. Remember, when we did this in 2004, we had the precedent of Jack Moody running for sheriff, John Salater ran for freeholder, Jack Hill later ran for sheriff. It wasn't unheard of that one of our members would run for another county office. So we thought it was important that we have that protection, that trust, that thing that we could say to our citizens, look, we put rules in place that no other town had to make sure that the money, campaign money from developers, from their lawyers, from bar owners, is not going to play a role in the decisions we make in this town. And I just think it's a sad day that we're walking away from that here. Quickly, Citizens United, nothing to do with this. Citizens United solely restricted limits on independent contributions. No corporation can give a contribution to a congressman today. Still, always was the law, still the law. Citizens United changed none of that. Campaign limits on who can give at the state levels, untouched by Citizens United. So please don't think that's an excuse for this, it's not. And I heard you said something that I had made a comment at some point supportive of changes to the ordinance. I certainly supportive of any change that makes sense. I'm not one in support of one that will reduce the confidence that the citizens of our community have in the people who sit where you sit. We've worked too hard to get Belmar where we are to undermine that at this point. So, thank you.
Can I just ask you some questions? In deference to the audience, because you know this better than anybody, you wrote it.
Yep.
And you wrote it, so it was real hard for me to understand.
It wasn't designed
You're a lawyer,
It wasn't
right?
designed to be hard to understand. It was designed to be hard to get around.
Okay.
Okay?
And you did write it knowing that probably someday you would need to make some changes, correct?
Sure. We talked, I think the taxi thing got changed years ago. I think that was the thing that.
Yeah. Candidates in Belmar running for local election, Janice and I, if we run against two other candidates in Belmar, we all run against the same rules that this is changed. It wouldn't affect a local election.
I don't know what you mean.
In other words, we have to go by the same rules as the Democrats running for local election in Belmar would have to go against the same rules that the Republicans have to follow.
Right.
Even if this is changed tonight.
Right. The citizens would distrust any of you equally. I'll give you that. Or could
Okay.
distrust any of you equally. I'm not saying this is specifically for the advantage of the Democratic Party.
So-
Obviously, the restriction lifting the limits on what someone can do if they're running for another office, I think the mayor was right to step down, and I think George was absolutely right to recommend that. I think it clearly benefits the mayor, whether that's the sole purpose of it. Obviously, there are other changes to it. It's not the sole benefit, but it's the major one.
Let me look at it a different direction. I'm not criticizing it, I'm just questioning. Would it put a local Belmar candidate for a county election at a disadvantage of a politician from another town whose ordinance is not as strict?
Well, I guess it would in the following respect. He wouldn't be able to take, well, actually, he could take contributions from whoever he wants. There's no restrictions on who he can take contributions for. The consequences are that he would not be able to, he would have conflict of dealing with matters involving them. So if he wanted to take money from a major developer in town to run for his county race, he'd be free to do that under our existing ordinance. He just simply couldn't vote or be involved in the matters they're involved in. The same with, you know, most of our things, development professionals, ABC licensees, all he would give up is the right to be involved in decisions involving them. But that's exactly the point of the ordinance. The point of the ordinance was that no one could curry favor with the decision maker in making important decisions that affect us. Everyone in town lives within 8 blocks, 9 blocks of a bar. Everyone in town is affected by the development, by the parking that will result from that. We have a lot at stake in this here. So would it have an effect? Only the effect that that elected official wants to have. There are way many more potential givers who can give a county raise. It really isn't that affected. And if you want to play that card, I would say challenge the other candidate not to. I mean, I don't know that any of them are mayors in their towns. You're not allowed to do that anymore. So our mayor has kind of an advantage that he is a mayor. He can, you know, give out advantages, but argue for them to rise to the level of Belmar. Let's have this be a race to the top, not a race to the bottom. So,
Just ask you another question.
sure.
And I know Matt's running, I support him, but I'm more concerned about a local Belmar election. So any changes tonight, I'm certain in my mind, does it give the Democrats or the Republicans running for local office an advantage over the other?
Well, look, I think it inherently gives an advantage to reduce the restrictions. Inherently gives an advantage to the incumbents, because you're the guys who make the decisions. You know, no one's going to give, a developer's not going to go give money to someone for a party who has no representation on the council. So while it affects them all the same, the reality of it is those restrictions are there to protect the citizens of Belmar against the people who are sitting there, not the people who are going to be running for office. You know, it's there so they don't bring that conflict with them. But it's really there because you are the people the developers are going to want to influence. The ABC license holders, future, present, are going to want to influence. So that restriction is there, and it's not because I think you're, you know, craven or going to take money or do things. It's about trust. It's about the people in our community knowing that that issue is off the table, that that's something they do not have to worry about with our elected officials. And that's the part that, and we lived with it for 10 years. We have no issue with it. We didn't raise as much money as we had in the past, but we just made our campaigns a little, you know, more, you know, kind of word of mouth, more low bore rather than extravagant. And I wonder if, and I don't want to pick on the mayor on this, I wonder if though, if that weren't part of the equation, I wonder if we would be doing the pass-through change, eliminating the wheeling provision here. I mean, you're making changes that you don't even need to make. You know, I get his change, why he wants that. I accept that. It's not, except that I don't think it carves, I don't really understand why he has to have that. But let's leave that aside for a minute. Eliminating the prohibition against pass-through contributions, that ability to wheel money from other races. You know, we've all had to, I'm sure I had to. If someone, an election campaign from some elected official sent you a check, and some treasurer deposited it, and you know, you had to give it back. Was it because someone had given that person money to give to you? Maybe, maybe not. The point wasn't that that's what is always happening. The point is that no one should have to worry what's happening. No one should have to go online to ELAC and follow the money back to see what the source of the money is. And if it's someone who's trying to influence something in Belmar, we shouldn't have to do that. And that's one of the big things that you're changing. It's the biggest thing next to freeing, you know, the mayor or any other one who wants to run for county office to do whatever they want outside of Belmar, as if it has no impact on the decisions they make, even when we believe, all of us, that it matters, that the decisions, even on a much smaller scale, that it matters that we have those rules in place with respect to developers and ABC licensees. And good to you. So, all right.
Thank you.
That's my piece. Thank you.
Anybody else? Michael? routine. Amen. Address?
Mike Seaver, 110 Second Avenue. Congratulations on the ALS, surviving the
Surviving is a good word.
the attempted heart attack. I just want to echo what former Mayor Ken Pringle said about the ordinance. You know, when I first ran and the ordinance was put in place, I was deeply concerned about the fact that everybody in town would have to disclose each and every dollar contribution. And since that, and during that campaign and the subsequent campaigns, I did have to reject money that came from outside sources. So the fact that we're changing it today, and we're really basically putting these changes through in a way that you're going to force the residents of Belmar to disclose to the dollar who they support and put them on a list that's made public on the website, and yet you're willing to allow people outside our community to contribute anonymously. And
Through
that-
what Ken referred to as the wheeling.
Correct, through the political contributions to other campaigns. And at the time, I thought, it really takes away people's ability to contribute anonymously to the person they support for fear of retribution or anything like that. I mean, politics has become very heated and very divisive, and people want to have a little anonymity. And now we can't, our own citizens are not entitled to any anonymity, even in small contributions below $300. I believe is still a state threshold. I could be wrong.
300.
Thank you, George. And, we're willing to say, outside residents, whatever you want to do. We'll allow them to however influence or whatever influence they want, and they can do it completely anonymously.
But an outside resident would still have to, we would still have to list their donation to us, correct?
Correct.
So in other words, if
But
someone
if they
from,
contribute to a political campaign, and that campaign contributes to us, they don't have to be individually disclosed. You're not going to get every politician who has a political campaign who contributes to a candidate within our town to give a full roster of contributors.
But a Belmar resident can do the same.
A Belmar resident can do the same.
Contribute to somebody and pass through.
Why would they want to? I mean,
Well, you're saying that there's stuff that they have to disclose everything, and you just gave an example where an outside resident didn't have to, well, they could also do the same. Do a pass-through, they could do the wheeling. I'm questioning.
well, that's what we try to get away from with the ordinance. So now, when you get a little $50 check from somebody, you have to put it on a list and disclose that someone gave you a little $50 check. When I ran for office, that's what I was required to do, and that's what I did, and was not able to take contributions from other political campaigns. And therefore, contributions in this community are fully disclosed. People know who's,
so your concern is really developers trying to influence the local election here in Belmar by donating to an outside group who would wield money locally.
Well, inevitably, that's what can happen. I'm
Can
not
happen.
accusing it,
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, I know you're not. I know,
saying
I
that-
run twice, and I've never had that situation where I had a big donor on the outside, but, I see where you're coming from.
Right.
That it could happen. I'll just say, it hasn't happened. At least the
And
two
I'm not
times.
making
Right.
accusations that it did. All I'm saying is that you're holding your own residents to a standard you're not willing to hold other contributors to. And I think that is something I'd like you to think about, because, if that's the case, why, or how, one of the things that was brought up at the time was how much money could come into an election. And a lot of times, and I think, Mayor Doherty, at the time, Councilman Doherty, Henry Finkel, the council members at the time thought, this would keep it a local election. We wouldn't have to worry about people buying influence in Belmar. That's what one of the goals of the ordinance was, and it accomplished that. And now we're just going to throw that away with this change.
And this is just my opinion, I'm not speaking for Tom or Janice or Jen. it's talking about the what ifs, and, you know, my experience the last 6 years, it hasn't happened, and I don't expect it to happen. You know, it's a local election, just Belmar.
Well, one of the reasons it hasn't happened, Council President, is that there has been an ordinance in place. That's why I would like you to consider voting this down and maybe it's, you know, fair to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Yes. Katrina, right?
Yes. Katrina Clapson, B Street. As you guys know, I was up here at the first meeting when you had the first original meeting. And if anything, my feelings about this ordinance change. My feelings about the ordinance change have actually increased, not decreased. And about you changing them, that I think it would be very detrimental to the people of Belmar. First of all, I'd like to just say that, Janice, you said something at the last meeting when you voted in this particular, because it changed so many times, the last one. You said we're going to tighten up the ordinance. You used Ken Pringle and 2011 as a date, and that isn't even when this was done, okay? All right. So I understand that it's confusing, and so that is exactly why I came to you guys and wanted to ask you questions, and I wasn't allowed to. And I still feel that I'm not sure from what you guys are saying today, or what you're asking today, that you even really understand what you're voting on. And that's very disturbing as a resident of Belmar. You said unconstitutionality, but anybody can say anything. The paper said that our attorney actually said he had no idea about the unconstitutionality of the new ordinance or the old
I didn't
ordinance.
say I had no idea.
No, you didn't say you had no, you had looked into it. Yes, you had not looked, right, you had not reviewed it. Have you reviewed it now?
No.
Okay, so, why are you changing this now, is my point. It's been in place for 10 years. Nobody seems to have been suffered traumatically by it. It's the undue influence that could happen from the outside, from the village, with all this work that we have going on. This is our concern. As long as this ordinance is in place the way it is, we Belmar residents don't have to question these things. But if you lift this, you are opening up a Pandora's box of possibility that we will have to constantly watch this. And, you know, I guess it's a possibility that our mayor, maybe you guys could table this until after he runs for freeholder. And then we wouldn't have to worry about, is it being done specifically so that the mayor can get contributions from the outside. I could be totally wrong, and if that's the case, then tabling it would be even a better idea. But to prove to us that you are sincere and that you understand what it is that you will be signing off on, I'm sorry, I just don't have the confidence that you do. And so I'm requesting, along with, I know there are other people here, but I'm just requesting that you guys really, really please consider what you're doing before you sign on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Gentleman back there in the weighted hat? Sorry, Mike, but you're probably inside. You might want to take the hat off.
Michael Drewes, Ocean Avenue. I got a couple of questions, and maybe the attorney can answer them best. Why was the original resolution never...
Talk to us, and then he can hear you, and then I'll go. George?
Why was the original resolution never filed with Secretary of State from 2004? My first question. Number two, there's been a tremendous change in the system of running for office and holding office. There are no more dual office holders unless they were elected a number of years ago.
Therefore, if the mayor is successful, as many hope for various reasons, some they hope him for good, and some they hope to get rid of him from this town, and he's successful, he won't have any influence here anymore. He'll be gone. He can't vote on a thing. Now, does this ordinance keep the boundaries and limitations as associated with the county pay to play? And since he's running for a county office, he's going to be looking for supporters throughout the entire county, not just Belmar. Now, how are we, to supersede any of those regulations? Which is it? Does he have to worry about the local regulation or the county? And again, if he's successful, he's not here. So he's not been influenced by any contribution he got. And again, as I said, I'm not even sure if the original ordinance is valid because there's no place that has been filed with the Secretary of State as of half hour ago.
All right, don't have to ask George because he wasn't here in 2004. I don't have the answer to that, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So but I'm just saying, we move on. What happened 10 years ago, it doesn't matter. It was good for a while. Things change. If I wanted to have everything like it was, I'd like to go back to when I was about 7 and have, Belmar like it was when I was 7 years old. It was great. Amusements and everything else. We're moving on. We're changing. And some of it you may agree with, some of you won't, but it's changing. And the fact that you cannot have dual office holders means you can't have a single committee to elect Matt Doherty. It has to be Matt Doherty for mayor, or Matt Doherty for freeholder, Matt Doherty for governor, or whatever. But it has to be individualized. So I can't see how Belmar can restrict the county election.
Thank you. Dave? Oh, his hand was up first there, Joe. Dave Schnapp, now.
Well, I don't have to say my name now, right?
I don't know where you live.
David Schnack, 302 C Street. I'd just like to answer a point that Mr. Drews made, and that's that it doesn't matter what office anyone here is running for, because if you're helping them, it doesn't matter what office you're helping them try to gain. If they still have the influence here to make decisions here about liquor licenses, about redevelopment, or about choosing a vendor or such, if they're still in a position of authority here and you're helping them, it doesn't matter what you're helping them with. You're still helping someone who's in a position to make decisions affecting you here. So I don't really see the validity of trying to separate off what office you're running for, in terms of whether undue influence is being applied, because you're still helping somebody who makes decisions affecting maybe some business you have before the town. So I just wanted to make that point. And one way we could avoid all this, I think Matt has a chance of winning his freeholder election, and I probably have a better chance if he campaigned full time, and if he resigned from his position as mayor and just ran full time for the freeholder, then we wouldn't have to be doing any of this, right? And another suggestion I would like to make is that if you really feel that this is in the best interest of the people of Belmar, one point I want to make is that this is a small town, how much money do you need to run for office here, Like every election, every day there's some flyer in the mailbox, usually from Democrats, a lot more than Republicans, and big ads in the Co-Star and stuff, So I think it's a small enough town that you can get your message out without, having to spend, $50,000 or $100,000 on a campaign. But anyway, what I was going to say is, if you really think this is in the best interest of Belmar, and you really think, that this is good, and that you're not doing it to help yourselves at all, that this is just would be a better way to run our politics in town, then what you should do is have for each one of your seats, have the law take effect once the current holder of that seat is no longer here. So like, for example, you can run for re-election, run for re-election again, as long as the people that voted on this ordinance are still holding their seats, the ordinance wouldn't take effect, because that might be like a conflict of interest. But as soon as there's no incumbent, and then the two candidates are both, neither one is an incumbent, neither one voted on this ordinance, then there would be no conflict, and maybe then the ordinance could kick in for that seat. This way there'd be no even suggestion that you're voting on it to help yourselves raise money. So that's just something I'd like you to consider.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John? Colleen, you really need an automatic microphone upper.
I won't let myself put it in the
I don't have an opinion one way or the other. I just don't like the way the new ordinances are written. We don't put in here any longer what we've eliminated. So if you sit here and read it, I don't know what you took out.
Well, I thought we did. I thought we had, in a couple meetings ago,
You
did we
print
have
the new one,
the lines through it?
but it's not there. So
We initially
I don't
did the
even know
cross
what you're
out, and a
talking
lot of
about.
people thought it was just extremely confusing and asked us to do a plain language version, which is
Yeah.
what that is.
I'll have to say this. I remember getting one of those and reading it with all the lines, and I made it more difficult, and we were asked to change it to what you don't like right now, which, it's
Even
6
the
of one,
next
half a
one,
dozen of the
They're
other.
changing the sign ordinance, and I don't know what the changes are. So maybe in the future you could underline.
Go back or,
something.
oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, in the back.
Hello, everyone.
Name and address.
Tom, 400 River Avenue, Tom Fay, 400 River Avenue, Belmar, sorry. I'll be brief, and this is in relation to the new ordinance for campaign finance laws. I feel very strongly that this is wrong. Whenever there is a mention of loosening campaign finance laws, the outcome is always bad, always. I understand the argument that we are just getting in line with other towns and that our current law may or may not be unconstitutional. But the fact of the matter is, we are not like other towns. We have the stringent laws we have for a reason. We should not lower our standards to meet other towns. They should raise their standards to meet ours. We should be proud of our strict laws. We should embrace them. They mitigate corruption. The plain truth is that money buys influence at worst and access at best. Now, I'm sure that all of you have the ethical fortitude to avoid such trappings. But what about future candidates and future council members? There are really only two groups of people that benefit from this: politicians and the companies who stand to benefit financially from having access to them. The average citizens of this town do not benefit from this at all. On the contrary, we will be forced to live with the slippery slope of unregulated money that will undoubtedly have a deleterious effect on the quality of life we have all worked so hard to fight to improve. There are forces at work in this town that would like nothing more than to lower the shade on campaign contributions. Now, don't get me wrong, places like DJs and companies like Chefs Internationals, they have a right to exist. They do. But make no mistake, they do not have the right to have a louder voice than any one of us. And that's what this boils down to. I implore you guys, do not be a rubber stamp council. For the sake of everyone in this town, and for the sake of future generations, vote no on this. A couple of you have sat in my living room and told me to my face that you would stand up to the mayor if you thought it was the right thing to do. Well, here's your chance to make up on that promise. Over in the gym right now, my son's going to play basketball. I'm going to go over there right after this. And there are signs all over the place, extolling the virtues of teamwork and morality and good sportsmanship and doing the right thing. Doing the right thing even when it's hard, even when no one's watching, even when it goes against political expediency. You all have the chance to do the right thing tonight. Please don't miss this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, I move to close the public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I make a motion,
To adopt?
make a motion to adopt. Janice?
Or does someone second it?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. We have a second?
Second.
Okay. Councilwoman Kilpatrick?
I'm very torn. I think there are some good things in here. I thought it was a very good ordinance when it came out, when it was changed. There's always time for change. I know that some people, we've heard tonight, don't like all of the changes that are in here. I think it's time to do it. If we're not happy with it, we can always change this ordinance again. This time next year, look at it one more time. I'm going to vote yes.
Councilor Brennan?
I have a couple of things I just want to clarify. It seems that one of the biggest concerns is that someone who wants to try to get our ordinance says that all contributions have to be listed, no matter how small.
Correct.
And there's a $300 limit?
It doesn't matter what dollar amount.
Okay.
Every penny has to be
And
recorded.
state law is that anything over 3 has to be
Correct.
listed.
This is
Okay,
more
so
strict than state.
every single dollar has to be accounted for. It's made by somebody.
Whether it's cash or in kind.
Okay. The concern then seems to be that somehow someone could go to an outside organization and say, here, I'm gonna give you this because I don't want anybody in Belmar to know that I'm making this contribution, and that would somehow get back to us, right? Is that legal? Is it legal to do that?
It's referred to as wheeling.
Yeah.
Might be legal, a little unethical, but, you know, it's, I kind of believe it. George?
The wheeling, in itself, if you earmark it, is not permitted.
So it can't be, you can't say
do
specifically
it
it's gotta go there.
to circumvent reporting laws. So that's what
Right, so it wouldn't be legal to do that. You can't say, I want this to go to Belmar. You can give
For
them a
the
check.
purposes of circumventing
Right.
elect laws.
So that's illegal.
That would be illegal.
All right. You know, I want to make sure, with all due respect to Mayor Pringle, I appreciate the effort he put into this ordinance. I remember when it was first being written, and I remember then, the idea being that, you know, other towns would see us and they would do what we're doing because we're doing the right thing. And unfortunately, as idealistically as I would like to see it, in the real world, that's just not happening. It's not gonna happen. And my main problem with the ordinance as it exists is that it puts Belmar residents at a disadvantage. And I just don't think that's fair. I think if you're from Belmar and you wanna run for another office outside of town, you should be able to take advantage of a level playing field. I mean, the men that Mayor Pringle mentioned, Jack Hill and John Zelig and Jack Nudie, I mean, all really good men. I don't know if they would have been able to win their elections if it had been a different situation at the time, but I don't think it was fair to them. So I'm definitely going to vote yes, just to make it more fair for the Belmar residents.
Councilor Brennan?
I feel the same way as Janice, a little torn. I guess from my experience being on council for going on my 6th, 7th year, I've never had any problems. I've never seen anybody approach me or corruption, and I know that Mr. McGovern can stress the same. It all is a lot of what ifs, what ifs, what ifs. I do like the fact that we are trying to stay in line with county and state regulations, and I think it definitely increases transparency with what we're proposing. So I will vote yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Who's got a promotion?
for a demotion. Okay, total respect for Ken Pringle. He was absolutely great mayor for 20 years. He wrote a great ordinance. Very strict. Belmar is at the very top. But I don't think with the changes we're making, it's going to change the Belmar local election. I think the Democrats and the Republicans are going to be on the same footing now as they were, 10 years ago. As far as the pass-through wheeling goes, I see Belmar being influenced by major contributors, and unfortunately the name DJs and Chefs International was used. I mean, DJ's been a local business company in Belmar for over 50 years. And they run a business, and they are not influencing who gets elected here in Belmar. Disagree, that's fine. I don't think it's going to hurt Belmar with the changes that we're making. If it turns out it does, we can change it back. But I don't see the election coming up in November affecting the Belmar Democrats or affecting Belmar Republicans. I believe the people in Belmar will elect the best person to serve Belmar. And I don't see outside contributors trying to get my vote. First of all, I know what I stand for. It's what's best for Belmar, not what's best for somebody with more money than me. So I'm going to vote yes.
Next, second reading public hearing, ordinance 2016-02. This is open for public hearing. Any public comment, please raise your hand. We can call out, the microphone. Any comments, questions on this ordinance? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Aye.
Next, I'll offer for adoption ordinance 2016-02.
Councilman Kilpatrick?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Garrett?
Yes.
For second reading and public hearing, I'd like to offer ordinance number 2016-3.
Sorry, just first welcome people to the microphone.
Oh,
You're open for public hearing.
I'm opening for public hearing. That's right, on the bamboo ordinance. None, seeing none, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now am I offering? Okay, I'd like to offer for adoption ordinance number 2016-03, an ordinance of the Borough of Belmar amending chapter 31, regulating the planting and growing of bamboo within the borough.
Second.
Councilman Kilpatrick?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes?
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Garrett?
Yes. Next is second reading and public hearing ordinance 2016-04. With the council's, this is, with the council's consent, I think we're gonna table this for this meeting, carry it to the next one. This is our animal. Yes, we're gonna table this for right now and carry it to the next meeting. That's okay.
Yeah, well.
The idea for this came from property owners that live next door to a property that had been significantly challenging, and that property is now being sold.
Yes, an attorney review, and the new owner plans to be owner occupied.
Right.
But it could be in the future, get another house that would be in the situation that we're addressing, and if we have the ordinance in place, we're good to go. In other words, the house that was a problem changed, but that's not to say that this summer, there might be a new animal house.
True. All I would ask, again, if we want to vote on it tonight, I'll vote yes tonight. But what I'd ask the council, again, it's up to you. To table this, we can have it at our next council meeting, which would be March 1st? Tuesday, March 1st. And it would go into effect 20 days after that, so it'd still be in effect for this coming summer. But if you really wanted to do it tonight, I'm not gonna change it. It's up to you. Is that all right? Council, I'll do it now? All right.
I'm just gonna say, I don't see a problem, since it's so early in the winter time, I don't see a problem holding it off for 2 weeks.
All right, so we got one that says hold off. Where do you fall? Hold off.
I would vote tonight.
All right, so you're evenly split.
Uh-oh.
Move the table. Vote on the motion. Here's what I'm gonna do, because I'm smart and I follow what women say. I'm gonna make a motion to table this, for tonight. Do I have a second? Okay, now we have to call the roll.
Yes. Councilman Blackburn.
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery.
No.
Councilman Brennan.
No.
Councilman Nicolay.
Yes.
Mayor Barry.
Yes. The women carry the day. That's all for our ordinances. Next is public session. Public session is very, very simple. Really easy. Just raise your hand, wait till you call out, come up to the microphone, you get 5 minutes to say whatever you want to talk about. As long as it pertains to this meeting and in the interest of the public good. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, very much lower. Claire Dyke, 1017 14th Avenue. Councilwoman Blackburn, I was very pleased to hear that you're pursuing the idea of a raised platform at the train station. I know we did that when I was ADA chair as councilwoman, and I know that procedure, that process is very long and arduous. And the fact that you were able to get a meeting with Cory Booker, I think that's impressive. I also read in the Co-Star that there's going to be an exchange of different kinds of paraphernalia for the handicapped with an exchange. How does that work for walkers and wheelchairs? Could you expand upon that a little bit?
He's not listening anyway. What it is, the ADA committee and the first aid squad have been accepting wheelchairs, walkers, canes, and crutches from anyone who has them, does not want them any longer. You don't need to store them in your house. We'll take them from you. When somebody needs one in town, they're more than welcome to come and borrow them from the ADA committee. Everything is stored at the first aid squad, so we're very happy with working with them, and we do thank the first aid squad. Right now, we only have one wheelchair still in house. We have 3 or 4 that are out on loan. We do have several walkers, quite a few canes, but we're always looking for more items as long as we've got the room to store them. And again, we don't want any of our Belmar neighbors to go and buy anything. They're all very, very expensive. If you need something, call Town Hall. They will call me. We will get something to you, whatever you need.
Could you just talk a little bit about the platform at the railroad and what was discussed and how far back is that plan going to be an actual happening?
Actual happening, it could be well after any of us are still around. New Jersey.
Wow. But at least you're making an effort because it's so very important. When I was on the ADA, one of our members saw a handicapped person being lifted onto the train, and that's how we first got the idea to pursue a platform. And so, that's good.
And we've been working on it ever since. New Jersey Transit is mandated to do all 50 of their stations. They do not have the money to do it. We are trying to get at the head of the list as opposed to being at the bottom of the list for the stations as they are accomplished. I don't see New Jersey Transit starting to do any more stations in the near future. So that's why we're doing the push now to be at the head of that list. So when they do get the money, they are starting to redo stations. We want to be number 1 or number 2 to be out there. As I said, it's not going to happen over the next year, 2 years. It would surprise me to see it happen in 3 or 4 years, but that would be nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Awesome.
Great.
Yes, sir.
David Marola, 817 12th Avenue. I just had a question on, you mentioned at the auction that we had earlier tonight that there might be another bidding on the 16th of March. Are you adding a trailer to 13th Avenue?
Correct. I think we had 2 last year, right?
It's not adding, it's the 2 that were there last summer, we'll be back this summer.
Where were you last summer?
I'm on 8th.
On 8th, okay.
So there's only going to be 2 trailers at 13th, one at 11th, one at 8th still, and then one at 5th.
Well, there's going to be a construction site there, so we got to figure that out.
All right, thank you.
All right. Yes, sir.
Tom Bill, 1000 River Road. A couple of things. Getting back on Councilman Blackburn, on this thing about the ADA compliant thing, let me mention something here that I don't know if anybody really has noticed lately, but we're going through what's known as hard times. You all drive and everything mostly, whereas I walk a bit. And if you walk a distance, let's say we walked to Red Bank, straight up 35 and everything, you would notice something that you don't notice when you're driving for the most part. On either side of the road, all the for sales, for lease, for this, for that, open stores, empty stores, nothing, anywhere, all the way up on either side of the road. Now let's take the railroad with the lift or whatever, the ramp or whatever they want to put on there. Certainly I feel for the people that are disabled, like anybody else. I'm a normal person. But this railroad is also experiencing hard times. Do you understand they just raised their prices? Do you know that? They just raised their prices for a reason. And also, for next month, there's a threat of a strike. Because the men and the women that work for that railroad are gone like 4 or 5 years without contract now, many of them. And everything. And now, on top of everything, we're going, hey, get this in here. Now, there are platforms, there are plenty of platforms. There's Point, and there's Red Bank, and there's Asbury, that are, you know, they handle the wheelchairs and everything. And we push them into a corner. Maybe we just might be looking at that empty track running up and down the way here, when that railroad goes under. We gotta be careful of these things. There's a reaction to every action, like I've told you before. You go too far, you'll knock them out of the box. I just wanted to say that, bring it up. It's something to think about. Brian, I'd like to talk about the mobile.
Mr. Bilberg, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but.
I can hear, talk to the mayor and I can hear you.
About the mobile bathroom in McCleary Park. Now, why do we need a mobile bathroom? Are we talking down at the south end? Is that what we're talking about? The south end where, you know, where the picnic tables are and everything? Is that where the mobile bathroom's gonna be?
No.
Where is it gonna be?
We haven't decided on an exact location.
But we were doing some testing today, and we had to make sure that, and if we chose a new spot, it could hold the weight of it. You know, it may end up where it was, it could end up closer to the tennis courts. We have to wait until the engineers decide the best place for
Mr.
it.
Wood, do you have an opinion on the matter you'd like to share with us?
Do I have what?
An opinion on the matter you would like to share with us?
Well, I don't know why we just don't reactivate the bathroom that's there at L Street Beach, number one. Number one, get it going again. Now, this will be the third year that it's not going. That's pretty nasty up there for the ladies and children to have to use the porta sands. That's not good, that's bad. Put a porta sand down at the south end and get the existing bathroom going again at L Street Beach. Why isn't that done? We're not talking about a big deal here. We're not talking about the Empire State Building or anything. We're talking about a bathroom. We can't do that? That's about, let me move on. I made that point there. Mr. Mayor, about this website and everything, the right-wing website that you mentioned.
Yes, sir.
It's a new low, a new low. That's the way you described it? Well, it's a new low, and it hasn't been reached before. Is there a prize?
No.
Well, let me just say something about lows. There used to be a song, I'm dating myself, going back, I think in the 60s, I think it was a country western. And it said, sort of like this, I don't remember the exact words. You mustn't be disappointed. There's always one step further down you can go. So we'll beat this no low. Don't worry about it.
Congratulations. Thank you. Any comments? Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, Tina. You have your hand.
Hi, Tina Connolly, 612 13th Avenue. The main reason that I came here tonight was because of the ordinance that you tabled. We have a house next door to us. My family's been in this community for over 60 years. We're in the same house now for 42. We have a two-family next to us that has rented out to summer rentals for the last 3 years. Actually, this will be the third summer that we're going in. They do not have the animal house status. The quality of life that we are experiencing right now because of this house next to us is ridiculous, to say the least. To the point that my family is considering selling the house and moving. We have spoken to the landlord, and his answer to us was, you'll have to talk to the tenants about that. We've called the Belmar Police Department, and every time that we call, they've been fantastic about responding, coming over when we need them, giving us advice on how to deal with it, how to handle it, what we need to be doing. We are taking those steps. I just want to make sure that this ordinance gets passed so that there are strict and stringent policies in place for people that do not have the respect for the year-round residents. And I'm not saying that, you tabled it, it's not going to pass. I'm hoping that everybody would have voted yes. But I definitely would like to see it at the next meeting and hope it goes through and that we continue on moving towards keeping, people that are not here to enjoy Belmar and have respect and regard for the residents. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Capoli, 402 9th Avenue, Belmar, New Jersey. To Mrs. Blackburn, I would like to say thank you very much for your efforts with the trained people to accomplish even just a lift. The gentleman that spoke before, if he had a child or a family member that needed that lift, he would know how long it takes to get any person or child or adult anything from the state. It doesn't happen 1, 2, 3. It's very important. And they will not pull up the tracks. And to his comment, as far as they're just bathrooms, maybe they are. But our people will put them in the right spot.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Sarah, 1311 River Road. I'm here to address some of the remarks made at the February 5th council meeting dealing with the 2014-2015 paddleboard lease and the resolution to open the 2016 paddleboard lease for bid. I never thought in my wildest dreams that speaking freely from my heart about my concerns for the safety of family and children using a free public beach being compromised by the paddleboard venue being operated at the L Street Beach during 2015 and in violation to the lease and without borough opposition would turn into, for lack of a better word, a debacle. I must have hit a nerve or got the key to Pandora's box. I never thought that my stating there were other violations, focusing on Section 11 sign restrictions, because the violations were so obvious and indisputable, would also receive such a degree of backlash. Perhaps my standing in front of you tonight, fighting for what I believe is right, is an extension of my passion to preserve the innocence of children, which is embodied in my children's book collection, The Adventures of Freddie, the Little Fire Dragon. Stories that focus on family values, friendship, caring, and sharing with others. Mr. Mayor, with regard to your comments on the February 5th council meeting, that people make a lot of allegations of wrongdoings in town that are not necessarily accurate, and in part I believe that could have been referring to me because my name was mentioned in the previous comments. I'd like to present you with a poster, which I would like returned, documenting all the violations I discovered with both words and pictures where applicable in an effort to exonerate one George Scudera from that category of individuals. May I offer this to you? I would like it returned.
You can show it to us and keep it.
Pardon?
You can show it to us and keep it.
Okay. I did it specifically so I wouldn't have to go through every single thing and make some brevity to my standing. So we all see this?
Just show the council.
Just the council, okay? Now, my comment with regard to Ms. Conley's remark at the February 5th meeting, people splitting a hair, referring to the two locations south end of Missouri Park and L Street being in close proximity to each other. I beg to differ. The distance between the two is more like that of a regulation football field. I would only expect a remark like that coming from someone like my daughter Chrissy, who's a marathon runner, after crossing the L Street boardwalk and getting a first glimpse of the finish line in the distance at the south end of McCreary Park. The comments made also by Ms. Connolly on February 5th regarding signage also beg comment. The violations to the 2014 and 2015 lease regarding Section 11 sign restrictions in my poster stand out like an elephant walking about in a turkey field.
You have 1 more minute, sir.
Now, a few concerns regarding the language approved and contained in the 2016 paddleboard lease. Fact, the only changes made to the paddleboard lease following it being tabled was changing 2 words in the title of the lease agreement and Section 2 property, McCreary Park to L Street Beach. Well, I would suggest that there be changes made in the 2016 lease to eliminate any ambiguity and state the portion of the L Street Beach designated in the attached sketch as regarding to the location. I don't see why these two people can make a decision of where to have a venue where it's already been there for 1 year. And also, pardon?
Thank you for your comments, that's your 5 minutes.
Can I offer you one?
Thank you for your comments, that's your 5 minutes.
I will be back next session. Thank you.
It's fine.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening to me.
Yes, sir.
No claps. Thank you.
Hold on a second,
Andy Maroney, 16th Ave. Mayor, I was here 2 weeks ago and I had a bunch of questions for you. This is all pertaining to the, our police services taking over Lake Como services in their town. I'm not sure if you're prepared or not to answer any of these questions or not. How many officers extra are we going to hire to patrol their territory?
I will tell you, there's a presentation tonight, started about 15 minutes ago, down at Lake Como.
You don't know any of these answers right now? I'm sorry. Sorry.
There's a presentation that started about 15 minutes ago down Lake Como that has all the facts and figures, all the numbers from Department of Community Affairs. So I'm not going to preempt them with any additional information. It's open to the public. If you want to go down there, it's at,
When I'm done here.
it's at their school.
What analysis was done to determine how many officers we would need?
I work in conjunction with our police department and Department of Community Affairs.
Okay. Were there studies done? And what standards were used to determine how many officers were going to be needed to do the patrolling in a safe and efficient manner?
Same answer. We work with our police department and Department of Community Affairs.
Okay. Have you ever heard of a workload analysis, Mr. Mayor?
In what context?
In police staffing?
Workload analysis?
Yes.
I don't know if I have or have not. You may have talked about it.
Well, it's pretty important. Basically, what you do is you analyze all your calls throughout the year through your CAT system. You determine how many hours it takes your officers. You subtract all that time and determine the percentage of their proactive time they have available. And that sort of gives you an idea of how many officers you need to patrol a certain area. So if you didn't do that analysis, you don't have a clue how many officers you need to patrol both these towns in a safe and efficient manner.
I would answer you that our police department and Department of Community Affairs did, what their analysis was, what their methodology was, I don't know. I don't partake in that. I just asked them for what the final numbers are. That's all. How they get to those numbers, I leave it up to professionals, not politicians.
Okay, fair enough. Basically, your plan here was your first prong here was to lay off the 10 officers, 8 officers in Lake Como. Lake Como couldn't lay those officers off.
It's incorrect. The Borough of Belmar is not laying off any of its police officers. The Borough of Belmar has no jurisdiction over Lake Como. So to say that we, as a town, lay off anyone is absolutely incorrect.
And if you weren't sitting at that table, there would be no layoffs, Mr. Mayor. You're the only one sitting at that table. And without you, Lake Como couldn't lay off all those guys and hire another 10 to replace them to save their $600,000 or $1 million. Civil service wouldn't allow that. So through you, Lake Como laid off their 8 officers. You're going to hire officers at a third of what those guys make to patrol where they just patrolled. You're a union buster. You broke up Union 50. That's exactly what you did. With less coverage, no less. You're going to make the people of this town unsafe.
That's patently untrue.
But you can't prove otherwise. You have no figures to show me.
It's patently untrue.
Patently untrue. So with all due respect, and I hope the answer is no. Have you ever had to perform CPR on a 6-month-old child that died from SIDS? Or a 3-year-old child that was pulled from a pool, drowning? Or a 55-year-old person who just dropped dead of a heart attack? I've done it hundreds of times. Seconds are critical to saving lives, sir. And if you think you're going to hire 3 guys to replace 10, that's the way you're going to save money, you're going to kill people. People are going to die. I have a 17-month-old at home that I am fortunate enough and blessed with that get the babysit. It's my granddaughter. She helped me with this shirt today. God forbid anything happens to her in this town, and I need a police officer. And I get there, and I find out that that officer was involved in a melee at Bar A, the largest party bar in all of Monmouth County, where those officers are out busy writing tickets in Lake Como. And God forbid something happens to my grandchild. Somebody's gonna pay. The other thing, the pavilions. When the pavilions were going up, we had all kinds of crap in the mail. I didn't get one damn thing in the mail asking my opinion about this thing that's going to affect me every day of my life. Look at all this, every day, crap. Propaganda. And you don't have the decency to send me a questionnaire to poll the residents of this town? It's the most important service they get from this town, sir. You can't just come in and toss numbers in a hat without proof.
Any comments, questions? Yes.
And workers, I don't know, you can stop me if not when I answer the questions I have. For years, I see the school kids, high school, that wait for school buses, prison, wet, and nobody pay attention, the government body, to make it some kind of little houses they get in, they can stay dry, and nice little warm like we are. A lot of people, they have privilege, a lot of kids, parents, they can drive them to school. A lot of kids, they don't have watching. When I go to my daughter's like home, and I'm with her, and I'm just decided to bring that up to you, maybe I will depend on you, Mrs. Nicolay. But I don't hear nothing, so I have to say, let's see our children, grandchildren. They not have the right to freeze. Some they have the privilege, parents drive them to school. But some they don't. So we should do something about it as a taxpayers, as a government body you are. And you have the law in your hands. So I like to see the money I have to spend for SID, whatever you call the stupid thing, extra tax bill, I prefer to use that to buy what they call little houses for the kids. Whatever it takes, 1 or 2 houses. And somebody else can do the same, somebody else can do the same. And so this way, the kids can be warm, not get soaking wet and go to school.
Could you open up your restaurant for them and heat it?
I can open a restaurant, but then I have to stop their eye on one place.
Well, they can wait there in the warmth and then
But
2 minutes before the bus
so many kids
comes.
here, so many kids there, so many kids there, so many kids there. They're not all on one place.
Maybe the bus could all come
You
to
should know
your,
better. I can open my business.
maybe the bus could come to
I
your.
used to be the one, I say, public restrooms, when they have the parades and they're not having it. People, they used to suffer. And I say, my place was always open and line up. I'm for the people. Favor for the kids special, plan for the people.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say. I depend on you.
See anyone else, will make a motion to close the public portion and adjourn. Aye.